Obviously, we have issues that are important to you, important to people of the state of Alabama. We're going to do our best to give everybody an opportunity to participate. So give me just a moment to analyze the number of speakers that we have, and then we'll get started with our meeting, okay?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
After a quick glance of your sheets of paper, I would propose that that the chairman's will and call set a predetermined time for each of the folks to speak. Thank you.
I think that's wise, Senator Blackwell, and we'll look to try and get that.
Does anybody have the first sheet of the sign-up sheet? Okay. It's okay if there was an error and you threw it away, we just need to know. There was an error? Okay, so you just threw it away?
It was thrown away because of an error, not because we were eliminating anybody's name. All right, sure, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to propose without objection of the committee members is we've got a total of what is going to, if each person gets a maximum of 2 minutes to speak, this is on our first public hearing, which is House Bill 57. If everyone gets 2 minutes to speak, then that will allow everybody to speak that's on the list, and then also it will try as best we can to, I've got a number of committee members that are going to be in other committee meetings in an hour. So we're just trying to manage our time as best we can. So in the interest of getting started, then let's go with that idea. Let me give you the rules. But first off, again, another word of welcome to you for being here. We appreciate so much your interest in these two pieces of legislation. And they're important to the members of this committee. They're important to you, and we're going to do our best to make quality decisions and be able to do it in a way that hears the interests that you have related to these two pieces of legislation. The first public hearing is going to be House Bill 57. This bill is sponsored by Representative Mary Sue McClurkin. Ms. McClurkin is with us today, and the way we're going to move forward with this, I want to ask Mary Sue to come to the microphone, make a couple of short comments about the legislation, and then after that, I'm going to call by first name the individuals. We'll go with proponents first and then opponents second, which is the way they were signed up. And I will call you by first name. I'm going to call 2 or 3 people at a time. I'm going to ask you to come and get in line so we don't waste any time moving to and from the podium. When you come to the podium, state your name and any organization that you represent, or just that you're representing your own self and your own views. And then at that point, we're going to speak. The clerk is going to keep the time clock. She's going to give everybody 2 minutes. When it's 1 minute and 30 seconds, she's going to raise her hand. At 2 minutes, she's going to say your time has expired. And at that point, you're going to have to stop speaking. If you don't need the whole 2 minutes, and if you're repeating something that someone else has already said, I'd ask you not to do that if you would, so we can make sure that we hear from everybody. If there's any questions as we move through the meeting, I'll be glad to clarify. But at this point, before Mary Sue gives us an introduction to House Bill 57, I believe we have a quorum. I'm going to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Senator Bussman. Here. Senator Beasley.
Here.
Senator Blackwell.
Here.
Senator Coleman.
Here.
Senator Dial. Senator Fielding,
Here.
Senator Smith,
That
Senator
cord is
Ward,
right here.
Senator Wagner,
Just walk through there.
Senator Watley, Senator Marsh, Senator Reed.
Here.
7, we have one.
All right, quorum has been established for House Bill 57. Representative McClurkin, you're recognized to give us an overview.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman
Yes,
and
ma'am.
committee members. House Bill 57 is known as the Women's Health and Safety Act, and this bill just provides comprehensive standards for abortion clinics and reproductive centers, and it will classify them as ambulatory care centers. It will require patients to receive professional standards of practice and care, have physicians available for the patients receiving the procedures, and it will also have nursing care, appropriate nursing care for those patients, as well as the standards of health and safety that's provided by the State Board of Public Health. In addition, it will require the reporting of the names of minors and who they think the father is. And it will encourage the physicians to give counseling to those girls 16 years of age or under about who the father is and what their rights are. This is just a brief synopsis of the bill. I'd be glad to entertain questions or provide answers for certain things. I have with me these citations by the Department of Public Health from the last couple of years of things that have not been proper at the clinics that we have in the state. So these standards of care, I think, are very important for women's health and safety.
Thank you, Representative McClurkin. At this point, we're going to move forward into the public hearing, and then Representative McClurkin can come back and answer any questions of members of the committee as we move to a time that we'd be voting on the legislation. So at this point, we're going to go again with proponents. I'm going to call 3 names, and if you'll line up, be prepared to speak for 2 minutes. Matt, Connie, Julie.
Julie's on the wrong side of the list.
Julie's on the wrong side of the list.
All right.
We've converted Julie to the right side of the list. Okay, Eric. So Matt, Connie, and Eric.
Matt Phillips.
Matt Phillips. And again, state your name, your credentials, and who you represent. And you have 2 minutes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I'm Matt Phillips. I'm a local OBGYN here in Montgomery. And I'm here as a proponent, and it's because it's a common sense, good common sense bill. And there's 3 things I want to say about it that make it common sense. It's actually so common sense, so good common sense in this bill that it's almost comical that it has to be put in writing. One part says that we require that they examine the patient. It occurs that care is given to patients who are never even examined. And I can't even imagine that in my own practice. But that's a good common sense thing. Require people to examine the patient before administering potentially dangerous medications. The second thing that I like about this bill is that it requires these clinics to play by the same rules that other medical clinics play by. You know, I have an OBGYN practice. I operate several different hospitals in town, and there are certain standards of care that I have to meet to give quality, safe care to my patients. And these clinics, as they operate now, are not really overseen or even make very much effort to meet some of these standards. And I think this kind of lays the ground rules and puts it in writing. I like seeing that. The third thing, the thing that's affected me on several occasions, is in these botched abortions when the patient is in trouble. It's usually at night. The abortionist has already gone back to their own town, and then the patient arrives to the ER unattended. And in that case, oftentimes, we're called to the ER to clean up the mess. Now, I don't mind cleaning up the mess because I took a Hippocratic oath to take care of people, but it's good care to be able to stay and take care of your patient
Thank you, Dr. Phillips. Connie?
My name is Connie Norris, and I'm here to represent women. Not a day goes by that I do not profoundly regret my abortion. I received no medical evaluation when I had mine. I never even met the person. And although I suffered brain and vertiginal seizures, I was given no problem with going ahead and performing the procedure. Even though it could have generated a crisis because of the emotional distress that could have endangered my life, following the procedure, incoherent and unable to walk, I was led out the back door and I was driven to my home, an hour and 20 minutes away. Not much has changed since 1977, for on January 21st of last year, New Woman, All Woman Health Center in Birmingham issued a 911 call requesting an emergency response for 2 women, directing them to use the back entrance. Unable to access these women with a gurney, the paramedics were forced to handle one partially dressed woman who was bleeding, in pain, and incoherent, under the arms and the other paramedic under her legs until they could get a gurney to where they could carry this woman to an ambulance. The other woman they put on in a wheelchair, trying to give her more comfort. Because of the trash dumpster in the back alley that they had to carry her out of, that didn't work either. Women deserve to be treated better than this. They're not trash. Choosing to abort my first child nearly destroyed my life, and it took me 20 years to heal from the emotional injuries, and 15 years beyond that healing, the wound is still tender. I despise abortion and everything it represents. But if it's going to be legal, it should be regulated. These women should have the same standards that you would get in any surgical care center. This is an invasive procedure.
Your time has expired.
Thank you, Connie. Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm speaking to you as one of the draftees of the bill. I want to talk about a few things that have come up already in the...
Eric, excuse me a moment. Give us your full name and who you represent.
Oh, Eric Johnston, Alabama Pro-Life Coalition. Some questions have come up. Why do we need this? Don't we have regulations now? Let me give you a brief comparison of what our regulations for the health department require. It does require a physician to perform an abortion, but it does not require you to have staff go to the hospital. It has an ability to have a contract with someone. That has not worked out. Most of the time when there are problems, the women end up in the ER. We do not have a provision in our law about abortion-inducing drugs. We're having more medical rather than surgical abortions. In other states, we're seeing that that is done over the internet. The protocols by the drug companies require in-person counseling. These couple of visits sometimes free. What we're requiring is the physician to have an in-person examination. You know, an abortion clinic, and a lot of them just set up in a house somewhere or a building and put their equipment in, but they don't meet the requirements that other surgical type ambulatory care centers would have. What we're requiring here, in addition to what minimum laws we have in the health department now, are office-based surgery rules required by the Medical Association, required by the Department of Health, mild sedation requirements because the women are given mild anesthesia. And as we all know, anesthesia can be a real problem. There's been complaints that, well, you know, we have to rebuild our buildings, we'll put us out of business. All we're saying is meet the regular fire safety codes that allow people to be safe in buildings where there are problems. As Connie just testified, there was a problem last year in getting people out of a building. This bill is not about stopping abortion. It's about making abortion safe. We hear that refrain all the time, safe and legal. If we're going to have it, make it safe so that the women who are getting the procedure will have the best health care possible. The same that you and I would expect our families when we go to the doctor. We need that. If any doctor is performing abortions, if he fits into the definition of the abortion clinic, then he
Your
needs
time has
to,
expired.
then he needs to meet the requirements of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. All right, the next speakers are going to be Sue, Cheryl, and Jackie. And again, state your full name, if you will, and let us know who you represent.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Ringett Ciamera, and I represent Alabama Citizens for Life. This year we're doing business as Alabama Right to Life, the 40th memorial of the disastrous Roe versus Wade decision legalizing abortion in our nation, knocking down all 50 states' laws against it. We support HB57 and we ask you for your vote, for your consideration of this law. Although it will not stop any woman from receiving an abortion, it will improve the standards of care. What we heard last year in the Alabama House was an effort by Representative Todd and others to change Alabama's current physician-only law regarding abortion. They requested a tiered system where they wanted to have a pad where any nurse or registered nurse or LPN could just give pre-signed drugs to women and change Alabama's physician-only law. So we really are thankful for Mary Sue McClurkin for bringing this legislation in, and for you, Senator Reid, for hearing it in your committee. Because in order to maintain safety for women, we need to maintain the physician only, and that is a part of this law that's very, very important. What we heard in the last public hearing in the House was that this is going to shut abortion clinics down. Well, I don't believe it will. I think the fact is it will only shut the clinics down who refuse to comply with the normal safety standards of other outpatient surgery centers. We heard that the abortion mills cannot afford to comply. One representative said on the floor debate that someplace was operating at less than $200 a year profit. This is a fallacy. The facts are there are about 10,000 abortions done annually in Alabama. At an average cost, they range $450 to $1,000 plus. At $500 apiece, we're looking at a $5 million industry. And if there's 5 facilities providing this, say they do about the average number of patients, you're looking at about $1 million in profit or income, not gross, not net. So they can afford to comply. Another thing that we heard is that this requirement for hospital medical leave is going to shut them down. Huntsville has a doctor who has hospital admitting privileges. There's no reason.
Your
to
time
weaken
has
that.
expired.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Sidmere. We had Ms. Sue Turner on the list. Is Ms. Turner here?
I believe she's in another committee hearing.
Okay.
And if you move her name to the back.
Okay, if she comes in before we finish. Jackie?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Jackie Stolniker, I'm representing the National Silent No More Awareness Campaign. We are women who speak out on behalf of the regard of our abortion. 25 years ago, I was coerced to a clinic. I had told a guy who I thought I was going to be marrying in the next 3 weeks that I was pregnant. He told me that having the pregnancy was not an option even though we were getting married. I woke up 3 days later to a gun inside of my ribs. He drove me to a clinic and he said, "It's your life or the life of the child, and one of you will die today." So any woman who's been in this position and been coerced like this understands that when you have a gun in the side of your ribs and walk up the staircase, it can be devastating and you're paralyzed. And there were no sidewalk counselors at that time, and where this particular situation happened. And so I let this happen. And I take accountability for that, and I regret it to the day I die because I don't have children. I've had cancer as a result of the abortion 3 times. They've directly linked it to my uterus. It's been uterine cancer, and I've survived it. The reason I'm here today is to ask you to please consider making this situation, we know that abortion is not going to go away, but make it safe. Make it safe for women. Do something to help these clinics make the regulations so that the aftercare immediately after a procedure is done properly, rather than people hemorrhaging to death, like I almost did in the middle of the street at Bethesda, Maryland. Once the abortion was done, I was told to go outside and go on and live my life. The guy that took me there wasn't there. I've never seen him again. But I collapsed in the middle of the street and lost 10 units of blood. So by the time the ambulance got to me, I was incoherent. I woke up 3 days later, not knowing what in the world had happened to me, other than my child had been taken from me at gunpoint. When they took me in to do the abortion, I thought they were doing an examination. I thought any doctor, surely to God, before doing any type of a procedure, would do an examination. You have to know what you're going after, correct? But he didn't.
Your time has expired.
He did the abortion. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Does Ms. Sue Turner come into the committee room? All right. Well, then let's move to the opponents, the against.